Ever feel like a week just vanished? Like you look up and boom, Friday.
Oh, definitely. And our sources for today, they really dig into why that feeling might be, well, a more persistent reality for some people.
Yeah, and the surprising role our emotions might play in all that.
Exactly. We're diving into this altered perception of time, specifically reported by people who feel kind of alienated or unreal.
Those moments of detachment, right, from yourself, from the world. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
It really is, because we usually just take time for granted,
Yeah.
how we experience it.
So what's the first, big takeaway from the sources?
Well, what's really intriguing is that it's often not just about time feeling faster or slower, at least not initially.
Right.
The sources point to a more fundamental shift. It's like the quality of time changes.
The quality. How so?
Like the intensity of each moment is kind of turned down, muted almost.
Huh. Less vibrant, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. The vibrancy fades.
Okay. But then the sources do talk about speed, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's a pretty significant trend mentioned. Around 60% of people experiencing these feelings report time speeding up, like dramatically.
60%. Wow, that's a lot.
It is. And think about the consequences of that. It's not just, feeling a bit rushed.
Right. What else?
Well, the sources point out that this constant feeling of acceleration makes it really hard to keep pace, like with just daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And that often leads to this sort of unexplained exhaustion by evening.
Ah, I can see that. It's like you're constantly trying to catch up to something you can't quite grasp.
Exactly. Like trying to catch something that's always just moving out of reach.
That frantic feeling when you know you're late, but it's like your whole day or week feels that way.
Yeah. Now, it's worth mentioning the sources do note a smaller number report time slowing down too, so it's complex.
Okay, good to know. Adds another layer. But the main thing seems to be the speeding up.
That seems to be the more dominant experience reported, yes. This feeling of acceleration.
So what's the bridge here? How does this connect back to those feelings of uh, alienation or unreality we mentioned?
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. The sources strongly suggest a link between this time thing and a reduction in emotional engagement.
Emotional engagement. Okay.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, think about how memories form. Our emotions, they kind of act like anchors, right? They help us tag experiences, make them stick.
Right, like a really happy moment or something scary, you remember it vividly?
Precisely. So when we experience events with less emotional intensity, maybe because of that feeling of detachment.
The memories become weaker,
Yeah.
harder to access.
Exactly. That's what the sources indicate. It's harder to store them properly, harder to retrieve them later.
Okay, let me try and connect that. You know those days where you're just on autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
just ticking off tasks?
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the day, it feels like a blur. You were there, but the details are super hazy.
Yes, that's a great analogy.
So the sources suggest maybe something similar is happening here, but more consistently, this lack of emotional registration.
That seems to be the idea. It's like watching a movie but feeling completely disconnected from the characters or the plot.
Yeah, okay. If you don't care, you don't really remember the details later.
Exactly right. That reduced emotional intensity acts almost like a filter. It stops experiences from being fully processed and, locked into memory.
So when people say time is flying by, it might not just be a feeling.
It might actually reflect that they're not creating those strong emotional anchors that usually help us mark time's passage, help us remember it.
Wow. Okay, so the big takeaway here isn't just time feels weird sometimes.
No, not at all. It seems really deeply connected to how we engage emotionally with life.
And that impacts our memory, obviously, but also maybe our sense of actually living through those moments.
Yeah, that feeling of fully being present. If the moments aren't registering strongly, it can feel like life is just passing by unlived.
Okay, so that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it, for you listening?
It really does. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Think about your own life, your own days.
How engaged are you, really,
Yeah.
emotionally, in just the day-to-day stuff?
Could that feeling some of us get, that time is just slipping away too fast? Could it partly be about how present we are, how much emotional connection we're making?
Are there moments maybe you're kind of missing without even realizing it because you're not fully tuned in?
It's definitely something worth considering. Those small moments, are you truly there for them? Food for thought.